Have you ever looked out your kitchen window and you've seen a bear at your bird feeder or getting into your trash? We're going to talk about how to protect yourself and protect the bear. Hi, I'm Laura Singleton with the White Mountain Independent. Today we're going to talk about coexisting with black bears that live in the White Mountains. To help us with that is Diane Tilton of the Arizona Game and Fish Department.
Hi Laura, thanks for having me today.
Hi Diane. So you're kind of an expert in this situation and in this topic. So tell us a little bit about black bears and what species lives here in the White Mountains.
Yes, so we have black bears. So there's two different species kind of in the continental United States. We have grizzlies and black bears. We have black bears, although our black bears can be all different colors. We get reports of cinnamon, which is kind of a red color, blondes, black, or brown. But they're all black bears.
Okay.
Yeah, so they're the smaller of the bears in North America.
So that's a big spectrum of color.
Yes.
So tell us when bears are active and when they come out of hibernation.
So they're going to wake up about March or April. A lot of their hibernation time depends on how much they can eat before they go down in the fall. So how many acorns they can kind of store up their fat. So they'll wake up in about March or April and they'll be hungry. They're going to start looking for food. And moms will have young that she had during hibernation. She'll have those with her that whole year. So she will have a couple mouths to feed.
Okay. So when people start seeing bears, they start calling the Game and Fish Department. Is that right? So tell us a little bit about what people are reporting to you, what they're seeing, what's happening.
So a lot of times it's bears kind of, I don't want to say causing trouble, but out looking for food. So they're getting into their trash cans, they're getting into pet food, they're pulling down their their bird food. They love suet and hummingbird food. So they're just kind of wrecking havoc. So people are waking up in the morning and finding their yards a little disheveled, or sometimes they even hear them during the night. Their dogs are barking, and so they're alerted to something out there.
Some people think that they assume that when they see a female bear with cubs, that's the most dangerous type of bear. Can you talk about that?
Yeah, so what research has shown is, mama bears are very protective of their cubs, but really the most dangerous bears are the adult males. Those are the bears that do more predatory attacks. So we have a little bit different policy for our male bears than our female bears.
Okay, so when people are seeing bears and they're becoming active, what are some things they can do at their home to prevent bears coming into their yard?
Yeah, so you want to look at your yard and kind of look at it from a bear's point of view. Are you leaving the trash where it's accessible to them? Do you have the bird food up? Is there water out? Animals need three things: food, water, and shelter. And so you are probably providing at least two of those if you're not careful. So you want to make sure that you're not putting out too much bird food. If you do feed birds, bring the feeders in at night. Make sure there's no pet food left out overnight. Make sure if you have chickens that they're secured. And if you have a backyard that's got a high fence, you have a little bit more ability to leave things out, but bears are good climbers as well. So just kind of look at your yard like a bear would. Great.
Okay, so you mentioned something earlier about certain tasty plants and fruits that bears might like that we grow in our gardens.
Yeah, they like strawberries, they like our fruit trees. We find them, we get calls of them up in apple trees, things like that. So, you want to make sure that you're keeping things as clean as you can. If there's fruit that's fallen on the ground, you can pick that up. And that helps with other wildlife as well, too.
Okay. And then do people typically, do you recommend they lock trash cans or how do they
Trash is tricky. If you can leave it in a storage shed or a garage, that's great. You can try locking it. We have people say, well, I had a bungee across it. Well, bears are strong. They can open up a bungee. Another thing you can do is not put really smelly food in it. If you have a rotisserie chicken, don't put it out 5 days before trash day. Maybe keep it in your freezer so that you're not attracting them to the scent.
Okay. something else really important on my list, and that is, what are people's expectations when they call you and say, I have a bear in my yard, or a bear in the tree, or a bear in our campsite?
They run the gamut. So we've got some people that call and expect us to come remove that bear just because it's there. And then we have some people who call or maybe are afraid to call because they don't want us to remove the bear. So it kind of goes all the way.
Okay, so how do you make a decision with what you're going to do, how you're going to handle that bear?
So our department has really great policy, and it's very clear, very spelled out. So when the call comes in, it goes to our dispatch, and the dispatch will initially give it a category 1 through 4, 1 being the most serious, and they'll contact an officer. And depending on the category and kind of what's going on determines the officer's response and then what we'll do with that bear. So if it's, you call and you say, I saw a bear walk through my neighborhood last night. Okay, we call that a category 4. It was a sighting, nothing more.
Okay.
If it is a bear that's hanging around, it's gonna maybe kind of getting a little more used to it. It might elevate that.
Okay. So if you have multiple people calling about the same bear, maybe on different days, would that be a category 2 because it's getting accustomed?
Right. It's kind of hanging out. It's maybe becoming a little bit more habituated, which we consider unacceptable behavior.
Okay.
And so if it's kind of staying in a neighborhood and it's staying and we're getting multiple reports over a time period, we're probably going to go out and trap that bear. And then once we get that bear, then depending on the age and the sex of the bear, will determine what we do. So if it is an adult male bear, we will euthanize that bear. If it's a young male or a female, we'll tag it and release it. And if it comes back, that bear will be removed.
Okay. So what age is an adult male bear?
We consider that 4 years, and we do that when we get the bear in the trap. We'll dart it so it's fully asleep and we can handle it, and we'll use teeth measurements to determine the age.
Okay. So tell me about female bears with cubs and how you handle that.
Right. So we move everybody together. My first bear call I ever went on when I came up here in the White Mountains was a return of a female with cub, and they had come over 60 miles as the crow flies in less than a week with that cub. And at that point they're habituated, and it's hard for a bear when you move it. Bears are territorial. So if I was to take a bear and put it out in the woods, there's already a bear that has that territory. So it's very hard on bears when you move them. And this time of year, especially early in the season when we're getting a lot of these bears, we're getting a lot of young bears. So the bears will be with mom for their first year. They'll hibernate with her again in the fall. And then when they wake up in the spring, she kicks them out. So we have these bears that, they were with their mom last year, but they're on their own. So they're really looking for a territory and just to survive. So it's hard for them.
Sure. So tell me a little bit about the average territory size of a bear, and a little bit about why all bears just can't be relocated to someplace like Arizona.
Right. So territory for all animals depends on how good your resources are. The better your resources, the smaller territory you have to have. But bears move quite a bit. They're pretty mobile and they're pretty fast. And why we can't just move them to Arizona is there's only so much room for these animals at zoos and other places that they can be in captivity. And if it's a bear that's been aggressive, or it's been moved or removed because of their past behavior, they don't want them.
Sure, it wouldn't be as safe.
Right, they don't, that's just taking on too much liability for them and their staff.
Okay, great, thank you. So Diane, tell us what the Arizona Game and Fish does once you've decided a bear needs to be removed.
So it depends on how close the officer is. If there's an officer that's in close proximity, they might go out to the scene and just have their dart gun, and they might be able to dart it right there without having to use the culvert trap that we have behind us here. And that's if the bear's accessible, if they know that a call came in and they can immediately respond that's definitely an option for them.
So show us what a trap does and how it works.
So our bear traps, it's a trailer, so they can hook it up to one of our trucks, and then they leave it out in the neighborhood close to where they know that the bear's been frequenting, and they'll put some food inside. And the door pulls up, and when the bear gets into the food container, it will release the door, and then it closes them in.
Okay.
And then usually we'll have a contact with some of the residents nearby, and so they'll call us and say, hey, we got a bear in there, and then we'll go out and pick up the trap.
Great. So then it keeps the bear safe and keeps the public safe while you do what you need to do.
Right, and we'll go out quickly. We won't leave it there very long. And then what we'll do is we'll bring it back here, and then they'll dart the bear to sedate it, and then we'll look at how old it is. We'll find out if it's a male or a female, and then decide what to do next with it based on our policy.
Okay, great. Excellent. And that's the categories again.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So Diane, if I'm out hiking on any trail here in the White Mountains and I come across a bear, what should I do?
So you want to be big, you want to be loud, you want to scare that bear away. So you want to make it known that you're bigger than it, and that it doesn't want to kind of tempt you to see what you might do. So you want to be loud, you want to be big. If you have anything that you can throw at them, that's a great idea. You don't want to bend down though and pick up stuff, because then you look smaller. So stay big. If you have a jacket on, kind of pull your jacket over your head, things like that, and yell at it. Great. If you have kids with you, make sure the kids are staying between adults. And then also teach kids that when they're out to yell bear. If they just yell, you're like, oh, look at this, kids are having so much fun. You want them to yell bear so that you know that there's a bear around.
So maybe some practice ahead of time talking about it.
Yeah, that's a good idea, especially with kids.
Before you go on a hike, and so everybody's on the same page and you're not worried.
Exactly.
Okay, great. Diane, this picnic table reminds me of being camping. So tell me what to do if we wake up at our campsite and we can tell a bear's been in our ice chest.
Yeah, and that's pretty common. Or you go out for the day and you come back and you find everything rifled through. So you really need to keep a clean campsite. So before you leave or before you go to bed every night, you need to make sure your food is inaccessible, and not just in the cooler. If you're in bear country, a cooler doesn't, they can open that very easily. So it needs to be in a locked vehicle. So not even in the back of a truck, but in the trailer, in actually the vehicle with the door shut to keep them out. You don't want to keep trash around. Again, that should be inside and inaccessible to them. Because bears, just like us, they want an easy meal, and they're going to go for what's easiest. And, our picnic table and our food is what's easy.
Okay, great. That makes sense. So tell me a little bit more about what bears eat, and what percentage of their diet is plants, what percentage is other things?
Yeah, a bear should eat about 75% plants. So they're eating, depending on the time of the year, they're eating grasses or fruit or acorns. And that's about 75%. And the other 25% is meat. It might be something that they come across that's dead. They might kill a squirrel, things like that. So they'll about 25% meat and about 25% meat, about 75% plants. They eat a lot of bugs too. So they eat all kinds of different things. But just like us, they want an easy meal, and they're going to take the easy route.
Okay, excellent. Diane, can you tell us one more time what to do if we see a bear in our yard?
So first thing, you want to think about your safety. Make sure that everybody, you and your pets, are safely inside the house. Make noise, make the bear uncomfortable. If you've got some, like a pan and a wooden spoon, bang those together. Make sure that the bear knows that your yard isn't a friendly place to be. Then once the bear's gone, it's kind of secure, call Game and Fish. So you can call our 24-hour dispatch, and that number is 623 236-7201, and that's 24/7. You can call and make a bear report, because even if the bear was just walking through, we want to know about it, because that bear might have been doing some things that were not quite so acceptable recently. So we might be looking for that bear, and be prepared to give a description. What did it look like? How big was it? What color was it? Did it have ear tags? That's what we're going to ask you.
Thanks, Diane, for sharing all this information about how to live with bears in the White Mountains.
And thank you, Laura. I appreciate you giving us the opportunity to share this information.
And thank you for joining us. Remember, you can protect bears while you protect yourself.